the story starts.
Hi, I'm Lola and you are watching special coverage from BBC News of the 2025 Bafta Film Awards nominations.
You have no real power!
We'll discover which films, actors, actresses and filmmakers are one step closer to taking home the prestigious Golden Mask in London on February the 16th. 235 films were submitted for consideration and the long list revealed Emilia Perez and Conclave as front-runners. I'll be joined by the entertainment reporter Steve Hargrave to delve deeper into the major categories from standout performances to outstanding British filmmaking.
No one does. We just make it up.
First though, here's Mia McKenna-Bruce and Will Sharp with 2025's Bafta nominations.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to the EE Bafta Film Awards Nominations 2025, live from Bafta's home in London. I'm Will Sharp.
And I'm Mia McKenna-Bruce. It is a privilege to be here to announce this year's nominations.
Before we begin, on behalf of everyone at Bafta, our thoughts are with colleagues, friends and peers, and all those affected by the devastating wildfires in the Los Angeles area.
We would also like to express our profound gratitude for the fire and rescue services who have worked tirelessly to save lives and protect homes. As the British Academy for the Screen Arts, our membership represents over 13,000 expert creative practitioners from across 50 countries around the world. BAFTA is the UK's largest film industry voting body, and our 8,100 film voting members have been watching hundreds of hours of exceptional films. This year, 235 films were submitted for consideration, and a record number of votes were cast in round one, resulting in a long list of 80 films. Today, we have the honour of announcing the films that have progressed through to nomination.
And as an arts charity, BAFTA works year-round to open doors for thousands of talented people to tell their stories on our screens, whether that's in film, games or television. From career development programmes, masterclasses, young BAFTA roadshows to award ceremonies, none of what BAFTA does would be possible without the generous support of partners and donors. EE have generously supported the BAFTA Film Awards for an amazing 28 years. This year is extra special as we're celebrating 20 years of the EE Rising Star Award, the only award voted for by the public. And I feel very privileged to be standing right next to last year's winner.
It was such an unbelievably huge honour, and now, with great pleasure, I get to congratulate the nominees of this year's EE Rising Star Award. Marisa Abela, Jarell Jerome, David Johnson, Mikey Madison, and Naban Rizwan. Everyone get voting.
The winner will be announced at the EE Bafta Film Awards on Sunday, the 16th of February.
Now we will announce the nominees from 12 of the categories. A BAFTA nomination showcases the incredible artistic and technical achievements of the film industry across the UK and internationally. Congratulations to you all in advance. So, without further ado, here we go.
The nominees for Outstanding Debut by a British writer, director or producer are Luna Carmoon, Horde; Richard Pepiot, Kneecap; Dev Patel, Monkey Man; Sandia Suri, James Bauscher, Baltazar Digane, Santosh; Karun Kandari, Sister Midnight.
The nominees for original screenplay are Honora, written by Sean Baker; The Brutalist, written by Bray D. Corbet and Mona Vastvold; Kneecap, written by Rich Pepiat; story by Rich Pepiat, Nisha O'Carrollon, Liam O'Gohanna, J.J. O'Doherty; A Real Pain, written by Jesse Eisenberg; The Substance, written by Coralie Farge.
The nominees for Adapted Screenplay are A Complete Unknown, screenplay by James Mangold and Jay Cox; Conclave, screenplay by Peter Strawn; Emilia Perez, written by Jack Audiard. Nickel Boys, screenplay by Ramel Ross and Jocelyn Barnes. Sing Sing, screenplay by Clint Bentley, Greg Quidar. Story by Clint Bentley, Greg Quidar, Clarence Divine I. Macklin, John Divine G. Whitfield.
The nominees for film not in the English language are All We Imagine Is Light, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Onde Estou Aqui, Kneecap, The Seed of the Sacred Fig.
The nominees for children's and family film are Flow, Kensuke's Kingdom, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, The Wild Robot.
The nominees for director are Sean Baker, Honora, Brady Corbet, The Brutalist, Edward Berger, Conclave, Denis Villeneuve, Dune, Part 2, Jacques Audiard, Emilia Perez, Coralie Farja, The Substance.
The nominees for supporting actress are Selena Gomez, Emilia Perez, Ariana Grande, Wicked, Felicity Jones, The Brutalist, Jamie Lee Curtis, The Last Showgirl, Isabella Rossellini, Conclave, Zoe Saldana, Emilia Perez.
The nominees for supporting actor are Yura Borisov, Honora, Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain, Clarence Macklin, Sing Sing, Edward Norton, A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce, The Brutalist, Jeremy Strong, The Apprentice.
The nominees for leading actress are Cynthia Erivo, Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon, Emilia Perez, Marianne Jean-Baptiste, Hard Truths, Mikey Madison, Honora, Demi Moore, The Substance, Saoirse Ronan, The Outrun.
The nominees for leading actor are Adrian Brody, The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet, A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes, Conclave, Hugh Grant, Heretic, Sebastian Stan, The Apprentice.
And the nominees for Outstanding British Film are Bird, Blitz, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Hard Truths, Kneecap, Lee, Love Lies Bleeding, The Outrun, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul.
The nominees for Best Film are Honora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Emilia Perez.
A huge congratulations to all of the nominees.
Today's full list of nominations are now live on BAFTA's website. To find out the winners, make sure you watch the EE BAFTA Film Awards, hosted by the one and only David Tennant on Sunday the 16th of February.
So that is the nominations from Will Sharp and Mia McKenna Bruce at BAFTA HQ. Steve, what do you think? Initial thoughts?
Glad I put 20 quid on Kieran Culkin. That was a win. No Wicked in Best Film. It's a very strong lineup. The thing we found really interesting, Kneecap, the Irish movie, of course, British co-finance, so technically becomes a British film. It's a brilliant film.
Well, it is a brilliant film, and we're going to talk about it in a bit more detail in just a bit. But let's go to our entertainment correspondent, Lizo Mazumba, who is at BAFTA HQ. Lizo, tell me, what is the atmosphere in the room? Any shocks, any surprises, or are people pretty happy?
Hi, Lizo.
Well, I think people just take a bit of time to absorb the nominations, go through, compare with the long lists, see if there's anything missing in there that they were expecting to be. Because, of course, because the BAFTA organisation puts out long lists, which are kind of extended shortlists from which the nominations come from, there are rarely any huge surprises because we know who's in and who's out. For instance, we knew that Angelina Jolie for the film Maria wasn't on the long list, so that was already a shock a few days ago, so obviously she's not been nominated. I think a few raised eyebrows that perhaps Denzel Washington has yet again missed out on a BAFTA nomination for Gladiator 2. Quite unusually, he has never ever been nominated by BAFTA. Not quite as ridiculous as it might sound, because the timings of so many of his films in the past where, for instance, he's been Oscar nominated, haven't tied up with the BAFTA year or have been for the BAFTA year the following year, so momentum has kind of gone from the film. But yes, as you were saying there in the studio, Wicked didn't make the Best Picture lineup of 5, and that can sometimes have a slight effect, because last year you had, say, Oppenheimer, a film that was a huge blockbuster, in there for Best Film, and so that engaged audiences to want to watch more because they were really rooting for their big favourite films. Excellent as the 5 nominated films are for Best Film, none of them you would describe as absolute blockbusters that are going to get big audiences actually watching, albeit some of the blockbusters like Wicked are, of course, reflected in other categories. So, yeah, an interesting few minutes as everyone just absorbs what's on the list so far.
Lizo, Emilia Perez, we haven't got the numbers. Like you say, every year we're scrambling to get the actual stats, but around 5 for Emilia Perez, around 5 for Brutalist. I mean, they were 2 films that obviously...
11 for Emilia Perez, I think.
Ooh, look at that.
Let me just get my list up. Let me go through. So Emilia Perez has got 11 nominations. Conclave is leading the way with 12 nominations. I'm very pleased about that. A film about, as you've been discussing before, the behind-the-scenes intrigue of the selection of a new pope at the Vatican, starring Ralph Fiennes, among others. So, yes, as Steve was saying, not surprising to see Emilia Perez. That's really gained a huge amount of momentum throughout award season. People might be slightly surprised to see it being just picked by Conclave kind of there, but, you know, we've also got The Brutalist with 9 nominations. We've got Anora with 7 nominations, Wicked also with 7 nominations, and Kneecap, which we were just talking about, with 6 nominations.
He's good.
Well, that's his job.
That's why he's down there and I'm not.
He's great. Now we have Ashanti Omkar.
Ooh, she's good too.
She's coming. Yeah, she is great. She's actually one of my favourite film critics. She is joining us. And Ashanti, for the viewers, you are a BAFTA voting member, so she is our insider.
Is she happy? Look at that.
She's smiling.
Did you vote for the right ones, Ashanti?
Ashanti, tell us your initial thoughts and feelings.
Well, I have to say, my first thought is I am a little disappointed about Wicked not making this list. But, you know, the list is very strong. This has been one of the strongest years for cinema. And I have to say, I deliberated so much just to do my vote. So from my perspective, I am not surprised that everybody was sitting there thinking, what do I vote for? All the voters would have had a really hard time. And, you know, this list is great. Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, and Emilia Perez. Emilia Perez is the one that I've felt has been really strong across the awards this season, and it certainly is showing that from all of the people who've been voting from around the world for all the different awards, including the BAFTAs this time around.
One thing that Lizo mentioned is that when you look at these Best Film nominations, or, you know, the nominations for Best Actress or Best Actor, but especially the films, they're not necessarily the blockbusters. So we don't really see Dune, we don't really see Wicked, we don't really see Gladiator, you know, the films that might have got people actually like into the cinema. Is that, you know, a thing about taste? Just, you know, as an insider, a BAFTA insider, I want to know, you know, why is it not the blockbusters that have made it, and why is it the perhaps maybe this is the wrong word, but artsy films. What do you think about that word, Steve?
Well, I think we should ask Ashanti, not me. She's going to put it far more eloquently. It's always about art. Some people would say you get the arty films versus the commercial ones, don't you, Ashanti?
What do you think?
And with BAFTA voters, our mandate is to find the most excellent film, the most excellent artist, the most excellent music composer, the most excellent, so excellence is what we're looking for. And from that perspective, yes, the art and crafts in the film are so important, which is why there are so many craft awards as well that are given out. And, I'm really delighted to see, for example, Gladiator 2 in Outstanding British Film. So there are some of these films that are big blockbusters that have made it into these lists. But you are right, as a whole, the way an audience looks at something, the way critics look at something, and the way voters look at something, because these voters are mostly people who are working in the industry, who are actually creating the cinema. So it's almost peer-to-peer voting that's happening here with the BAFTA. So definitely it's the art, and you're totally right in saying it's the artistic films that are making these lists, and it's just the way an awards voter is thinking. And when they're trying to assess between 5 amazing movies and saying which do I pick, they're going to go for that one that has the best artistic merit.
Let's have a bit of a discussion about Kneecap, because that's a film that we were being like, oh, Kneecap again. Tell me your thoughts on why Kneecap might have been so successful with these nominations.
Well, Ashanti will know this as well. They did well at the Biffers. It was the big winner on the night down there, and the British Independent Film Awards. Biffers just sounds a bit like I'm making up a weird word. It did really well there. Irish language film, of course. Again, you wouldn't say that's easy to market. It's a hip-hop band from Ireland who have made a kind of quite loose version of their life, so to speak. Incredibly loose, isn't it, Ashanti? But it's a really great film. It's really well made. It's almost a bit like that kind of, there's always one that creeps through. We never heard of it. It has got Michael Fassbender in it, but it's a very minor role. And he sort of comes through without any real fanfare, and suddenly everyone's really enjoying it. And what do you think, Ashanti? Do you think Kneecap, I think it'll win one of these, won't it?
I will be very happy for it to win. To be very honest, this is a film that captivated me when I saw it during Sundance, and it is telling a story of keeping the language alive for these guys. That's what they're fighting for. And I guess it's one of those cultural moments that we haven't seen before, and it's a very thrilling film when you think about it. Though it's a story of a rap band, there's so much more to it, so many layers, a lot of nuance to it, and it did pretty well, when it came out in the cinemas. But it certainly is one that has engaged the awards voters, mainly I would say for the subject matter.
When I kind of look at Kneecap, I see it maybe doing very well. Is it called a foreign film? What's the title?
But
it
is, but it's also in the British film because it's co-financed. So and the directors pointed out the hilarity and obvious difficulty in the idea of what's an Irish film and what's a British film. It's co-financed, so it creeps into the British film category whilst being in the foreign language category as well. So it's kind of this weird anomaly but it means it can be across all these different categories, which of course ups its chances really.
It does.
Because you wouldn't necessarily see it winning the best film sort of thing, but actually in some of the other categories it can creep through. Yeah. Really interesting to see how that plays out on the night.
Well, especially the foreign one, because I see a bit of a competition there with Emilia Perez and Kneecap. But for me, those are the ones I'm thinking of. Now, Ashanti, back to our BAFTA voting member.
Are you Emilia Perez fan, Ashanti?
Let's start with Emilia.
I am. The minute I saw it, I was completely mesmerized by the film. And I guess so were many other voting members. And not just voting members across the board, not just in the UK, but also across in the US, etc. But also in terms of critics, it's had a lot of critical applause. The film has really resonated, and Jacques Audiard, as a fantastic auteur, he manages to make very evocative cinema, and a film like this that looks at different aspects of feminism, I feel has really resonated across the board.
I agree. I do think it's really resonated across the board.
Yeah, absolutely, really brilliant. I was really happy to see Kieran Culkin make the mix. It sounds like I'm the #1 member of his fan club up there. But the other movie that's been around, I've been doing some interviews. I was down there chatting to the cast yesterday of The Brutalist. They'll be happy today, and The Brutalist, of course, did well at the Globes. Ashanti, again, another movie that doesn't sort of fly off the paper as a Friday night cinematic treat you take the family to, but it's brilliant, it's epic, it's beautifully shot. It's a bit like a kind of classic 70s cinematic treat, isn't it?
It really is. And again, in the world we have today, this immigrant story is something that's resonated with so many people. In fact, the minute I saw the film, and of course, when I say the minute, it's a 3 hour, 35-minute film. And when you watch it in the cinemas, there's 15 minutes of interval time as well, which is really rare.
I was very grateful for that.
Yeah, yes, indeed. You know, the bladder time has been calculated by the team of The Brutalist. And I guess this is a film, you're right, it's not the one that we would necessarily choose, but honestly, that time just flew by for me. The way the film was made, it's been crafted so beautifully. And Adrian Brody in this role is absolutely brilliant. And when I saw the film, the first thing I did was to check whether the subject matter was actually real. It's like the Tar effect. We saw Tar a few years ago and we thought, was she real? Was Lydia Tarr real? It's the same thing with this. Is Lazarus Scott actually a real person? And we find out, no, this was all crafted by the mind of Brady Corbet, and kudos to him for it.
I pitched it as a kind of a very long episode of Grand Designs. Because they're kind of...
It's about construction of the life and construction.
It is, which I think makes it sound a lot sexier to people who perhaps weren't going to go see it. There's no Kevin McLeod, but it is. There's
Adrian Brody.
There is Adrian Brody. I'd just say interesting on the Best Actor category, the difference of the performances in some of those. I mean, Chalamet, I think I'm a big Bob Dylan fan. I thought he's really great as Bob Dylan. But the difference in performance style, and I think that's what's interesting about awards, isn't it, Ashanti, is you get people doing this extraordinary... I mean, let's talk about Demi Moore as well. Extraordinary out there performance, getting recognised for something that's almost kind of brilliantly cartoonish and very, very surreal, versus someone like Adrian Brody doing it when he cries. Boy, do you feel it. It's like he's a real person up there. It's incredibly different performances. And again, Ashanti, that's probably the joy of looking at these shortlists.
Absolutely. And I have to say, I'm really delighted to see Hugh Grant in this shortlist of leading actor nominees, because in this film, Heretic, he's just given us a role that he has clearly relished playing. And it's a type of role that doesn't come along much for an actor. And it's really wonderful to see him in that list. Ralph Fiennes, again, in Conclave, he really floored me with what he did with that. And I'm really happy that award voters across the board have loved the film and loved the performance. And I'm very happy to see Coleman Domingo here for Sing Sing. It's a film that I feel has not been recognized a lot across award season. And it's really nice to see him here as a leading actor, as a nominee.
Ashanti Onkar, thank you so much for joining us here, BBC News Streaming. We're
great as always,
happy.
Ashanti. Thank you.
Thank you.
Obviously, the real race, some would say, is between Adrian Brody and Timothée Chalamet. Adrian Brody won the Golden Globe.
He did.
Is Chalamet appearing at the premiere last night on the bike enough to win?
That's another point that we've been making today about kind of the social media aspects to it, the kind of momentum behind people, who are people talking about, and definitely after Timothée Chalamet turning up at a complete unknown London premiere on a Lime bike.
Other bikes are available.
Exactly, other bikes are available. But that was a moment. It's all I've seen on my pages, on my For You pages and stuff today.
It does. The voters do get affected by what's out there and what's present as well, as anyone else. They're only human. So, and I think A Complete Unknown sort of had quite a late surge of its publicity. So I think there are people sort of picking up on it. And they were saying in this week that it's sort of gathered steam. And it's a really great performance and a really good film. Brutalist is more classically an awards film, much more classically, like we were saying, perhaps not the popular scene, but everyone should go see it. The other thing is, will those votes split, and will Ralph Fiennes come through for Conclave at the last minute?
An outstanding performance by Ralph Fiennes.
It's a brilliant performance, but yeah, the money's on the first two. Don't rule out Rafe.
You did interview Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown.
He's always calling me. He always wants to chat.
You're like, come on, Timothée, stop.
Just stop it.
But you've also a Bob Dylan fan. You told me that maybe in confidence, but I think being a Bob Dylan fan, that's a good thing.
I'm ashamed to be publicly outed as a Bob Dylan fan.
Tell me, as a Bob Dylan fan, what did you think of the movie? Obviously,
do you want me to do it in my Bob Dylan impression?
No, let's not.
You've heard about that. It's really good, and I think they've really trod that line sort of carefully between sort of pleasing the Bob Dylan fans and also making something that's very approachable and sort of tying some knots together that perhaps wouldn't make sense, cutting some things in the story out. But Chalamet's performance, particularly in the first half of the film, absolutely astonishing, pitch perfect. And he got glowing reviews from Bob Dylan himself, so you can't say fairer than that. Should we have a look at who's in the leading actress category?
We could have a look at it. So we've got Cynthia Erivo, Wicked.
I thought you were saying that's wicked.
No, that is wicked. No, what an outstanding performance. You go through the rest if you would like to.
Yeah, I've got Carla for Emilia Perez, no surprise there, of course. We've got Hartrish, Nora. I do think again, it's a very interesting list. I just think really that Emilia Perez won at Globes, and Demi Moore. I think Demi Moore has the momentum, and I think it's sort of to do with her Golden Globe speech, her being on stage.
I think I was a popcorn actress, and now
the thing we love is a good story, and awards season loves a great story of someone who was, as she said, a popcorn actress who perhaps now, and also I do think with that movie that it's a film for the horror community that has come through into the mainstream and is now in contention for awards. Substance. If you haven't seen it, please tonight sit down and watch it and just be prepared for how utterly bizarre it is. But Demi Moore puts everything and then some into that performance, and it's a brilliant performance. I think she might have the momentum, but it might be Emilia Perez as well.
And of course, as well, we will actually most likely be covering the BAFTAs.
Well, I should hope so after all this.
Hopefully we'll be covering that.
February the 16th.
February the 16th,
yep.
We're going to be covering it. It's also going to be on BBC One. I think they mentioned that actually. I think Mia McKenna Bruce actually mentioned that. So, you know, BBC is the place to get all of your BAFTA stuff.
It is. You haven't got any choice. That's the only place for it. I'll be down there annoying people on the carpet as well.
Tell me a bit about that. Is it fun to just stick a bit?
It's utter chaos, but it's brilliant because you never know who you're going to get, and then think about it turning around and like 100 of these film people turn up at once, and you're like, okay, what are you nominated for? Who are you? Oh, yeah.
I wonder.
Oh, you're Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, well, I wonder if Timothy Chalamet will ignore you now he knows you're a Bob Dylan fan. He's like, no more Bob Dylan
He
questions.
heard it. He's a great actor. He pretended to like it.
Interesting.
We'll see.
Well, look, thank you so much for joining. I've been Lola Schroer, and this has been
Steve Hargrave.
See you later.